Hello, everyone, and welcome to Southeast Iowa Union's Prep Sports Plus. I'm Andy Kretzinger, coming to you from my lovely home, as you can tell by the flowers over here and my headphones. Noise canceling. Uh-oh, my cowlick's getting through. That's not good. Hunter, introduce yourself while I fix my cowlick.
Yeah, I'm Andy's co-host, Hunter Muller, coming at you from Mount Pleasant, Iowa, as well, in my lovely abode.
Ooh, you got a sunny abode.
This light's just very. I got the blinds closed right here, but this light's very sunny-like. So I like this room. I like the lighting in the room. Keeps me looking a little, a little fresh.
Yeah, it's very bright. Reminds me of the Stranger Things room.
Oh gosh,
all the kids.
Don't say
that. We are powered as usual by Fairway Food Stores. By the way, you guys need to not commend. What's the thing you do if someone's doing something bad? Strike me down if I start laying, because these noise canceling headphones are awesome. If I start yelling, not laying. I don't know why I'd say the word laying. If I'm yelling, it's just because my headphones are noise canceling, and I feel like
your dog's doing something naughty.
Yeah, my dog's actually snuggled pretty close to me right now. But I will yell at the dog. Right now. Ooh, we might have some dog yelling. And speaking of some dogs, everyone's a dog in the Southeast Conference boys basketball race, which continues to heat up. But it was a tough spoiler. It was a tough day. It was a tough day last Friday night for our area teams.
Yep.
We're gonna go one by one. We'll start with Washington, just because I was there alive while Hunter had an absent Friday. This is the only one we were alive. I was at Keokuk, Iowa, Hunter.
Yes, sir.
Can I say something sad that happened to me at Keokuk before I get into basketball talk?
Get into it, man.
They were selling suckers, and I bought 2 suckers, one for myself, one for a friend of mine, and I waited for him to get there to give him the sucker, and then when I pulled him out, there was only one. I had dropped one on the court somewhere.
No.
So I just pretended that I already ate mine. Yeah, I never found it.
So at least you were a good friend. You're like, well, I'm going to keep this, man.
Yeah.
At least you didn't just take the sucker and say, hey, sorry, you're bad luck.
Good sucker is Keokuk. Some good festivities, but unfortunately for the Washington basketball teams, not very good results for the visiting Demons. They go into Keokuk. We'll start with the girls. They started out. Keokuk is one of the 3 teams tied in first right now. Burlington and Fort Madison are the other ones. Washington comes into this thing. Out of our 3 teams, Eatonton is the team that has battled with these other 3, right? And for about 3 quarters, I'd say Washington actually outplayed Keokuk. Unfortunately for the Demons, those were the second, third, and fourth quarters, and the first quarter was a disaster of sorts. Let me get my final scores up here. Keokuk started this one out 20-5 in the first quarter. Second quarter starts. Demons are like a totally different team. They outscore them in the second quarter. They just kept kind of creeping. Like, as I said, it was 20-5, so it was a 15-point game. They would creep within like 11 and be like, all right, here we go. Washington might score here. Keokuk is such a tough team because of their defense and their fast break layups. Just seems like every single time Keokuk, their lead started to shrink a little bit, they would just get a steal and score on the other end. And Washington is didn't put the final score on my phone.
Hey,
finals. I get a roll.
You're really lagging.
Wait, I might be freezing. What happened?
You're really lagging.
I'm lagging?
Yeah.
All right, I know why I'm lagging. Hold on. I'm not lagging now, though, right?
Correct.
You know why I'm lagging?
Why were you lagging?
I clicked something on Varsity Bound, and I clicked something on Varsity Bound, and it was like it had to load up, so it just like took all my bandwidth. Also, my kids watching the Amanda Show on Paramount Plus upstairs. Shout out to Amanda Bynes. Come on the show anytime. Washington girls did fall though, 63-44. Keokuk ran away with it late in this one. Demons had a good game still out of Adeline Long, who had 16 points. Reagan Miller 6. Lauren Hendrickson 5. So a tough result for Washington, who is now basically needs to win out and have a lot of stuff go their way to still have a shot at this conference championship. And boys' game actually turned out a little bit worse. It was almost a carbon copy of the first quarter for the girls, where you're just like, man, Keokuk is in control here. And the only difference was that there was no big comeback effort or no really creeping too close for the Washington boys. Keokuk's Jackson Clark was completely dominant. Seth Shepard did block him a couple times, 1 or 2 times for Washington, and that was nice. But he's too tall, man. Anytime he'd miss or get blocked, just grab the ball, put it right back up. Him and Brenton Horde for Keokuk had huge games, and the Chiefs beat the Demons 71-35, Hunter.
Wow.
Not exactly the type of boys basketball games that we have been seeing out of either of these. Every boys basketball game in the SEC, it's like it's right down the wire. This one, not so much.
No, that's a tough one, especially since, the Demons came back, that first game of the season they played them. Washington came back on them and beat them, so.
Yeah, you were there. Maybe you're just the good luck charm, because I think the same thing happened last year. I think you covered the Washington Keokuk game that was good, and I covered the one that Keokuk dominated. Oh, maybe not. Oh, you weren't at the Keokuk Washington game. At that game? I don't know. Figure it out. We were Mount Pleasant and Fairfield. Either way, this thing was 37-14 and a half.
Wow.
Not good. The one player that did have an okay shooting day was Nick Stone. He hit 4 threes for 12 points. Logan McDowell with 10. Nobody else had over 5, so that was tough. And then I'll just go ahead and run through the Demons. Last night fell 64-49. They actually had a similar first half. They were down 17 at halftime. They did come back, cut it to 11 with the ball. Looked like they were going to get it to single digits a couple times. Didn't happen. Drew Conrad 14, Logan McDowell and Nick Stone 13 apiece. So Demons sliding a little bit going into a battle with Fairfield this Friday.
Yeah, I mean, what's that?
Oh, I was gonna say also Demon girls played Oskaloosa 52-44, a loss. So tough few days for Washington hoops.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you had these stretches during the season, but Washington, especially on the boys and girls side, has shown that specifically in the Southeast Conference, is that they can play with pretty much anybody. And the Washington girls have been there. The Washington on the girls side, the girls have been there defensively. Usually it's just kind of an offensive spurt through a quarter that ends up making the difference in their games. And on the boys side, they definitely have enough talent to compete with Keokuk and things like that. But just running through a little rough patch here, the Demons are.
Keokuk at Keokuk is such a tough place to play. It's just something about the scenery or the fans behind the basket or something.
Yeah, no gym is like that. Like with it's almost like it almost has like a college like arena feel to it. So it's definitely like a different feel, because the depth perception of shooting and things like that definitely takes makes an impact. And you kind of see that at state basketball too. That's why usually at state basketball, like the shooting percentages are usually lower, because you just have so much space and the hoop's just there and in the air. But yeah, I mean, I think Washington though is still one you got to keep watch out for, because they're still one of the top teams in the conference there, even though despite that lopsided loss to Keokuk. And the fact of the matter is, it's hard to deal with the 6 a 6'9" kid when your tallest guy. I mean, Shepard is probably their tallest defender, and he's been playing a lot more like just to give them some inside, I guess length inside, and he's only what, but 6'4" or so, and going up
Yeah, but
against
he's by
6'9",
far the
6'9" still
tallest,
different.
longest kid they got.
And
Yeah.
Logan McDowell might be the next
Yeah.
tallest, and he's a guard, so or a forward or a guard.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's tough to deal with that inside. So,
yeah, and Keokuk's just playing really well right now. They've turned it on. They had a rough start to the season. I thought they were the favorites coming in, and now they look good. Let's jump to why don't we jump into Fairfield really quick, because Fairfield is playing Washington this Friday. The Highway 1 battle. Hunter Muller will have boots on the ground for that one.
yes, sir.
And Fairfield played. That's right. That's your second Highway 1 battle.
And it was a good game last time, too. It was a good game.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, Washington and Fairfield boys basketball over the years has been a really good battle. Girls-wise, sometimes they kind of flipped. Fairfield had won so many in a row against Washington, and then Washington has flipped it. The Trojans played at Fort Madison last Friday night. Fall 57-29. This is the girls. 57-29. Fairfield was leading Fort Madison 8-4 after a quarter, and they were only down 21-13 at halftime, but just couldn't put four quarters together. But that's probably that's the first little sign of brightness against one of the top SEC teams for Fairfield. I thought you were going to drop into something there, Hunter. I saw some knowledge on your brain.
No, Fairfield. Fairfield's one of those teams that actually on both sides. We kind of talked about them coming into the season with not as much as everybody else, like returning. Besides Mount Pleasant, they lost a ton, but I guess on the boys' side they returned some probably three key starters from last year and things like that, but. I think they're a dangerous team if they're hitting their shots. Like if they're hitting their shots on the night, they can beat anybody. I mean, they played with Keokuk for a half there, and then the Chiefs pulled away there. But on the girls' side, I've been pretty impressed with how the girls have been playing, because I mean it's basically all new. Besides like Grace Lyon and Faith Jones, that's like the only varsity experience really, like from a starting perspective on that team, and they put together some close games and. Against some, top teams in the Southeast Conference so far. So pretty impressed with how the Fairfield girls how they've been playing, new coach and all that. So looks like they're getting better as the season goes on.
Yeah, well, and they've definitely in a week. So I saw them 2 Fridays ago play against Mount Pleasant. That was probably their worst game. It was all Mount Pleasant the entire time. A few days later, I saw them play against Van Buren County. Almost pulled out a win at Van Buren County. That would have been impressive. They lost by 9. Then they were at Pekin, only lost by 5. Another one of our teams. And then the Fort Madison. Now the final score was a 28-point win for Fort Madison, so it's not like it came down to the last second or anything. But you at least have that little like, oh, look at that, they're playing with them for a while, and they used to bottle that up and hold on to it for 4 quarters. But now they're going through the second time of conference play. So, when you struggled, it's kind of like, all right, can we play this team better than the first time we played them? And then on the boys' side, a little bit of the opposite in this situation, where the boys pulled off what we thought was a shocker at the beginning of the year against Fort Madison, beating them, because I don't think I thought that Fort Madison and Keokuk were too touchable, honestly, coming into this year. But the last game between Fort Madison and Fairfield doesn't go exactly as planned for the Trojans. Trojan boys fall in this one. That was last night's game, 70-54. So it was close. Fort Madison never lost a quarter. They just kept creeping the lead up. But 70-54, so not Fairfield's best SEC game for sure. Trojans had been playing really well. That was their first loss of 2025. They had beaten Pekin one night before that on the road. So a rare off night for Fairfield on Friday night.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this game on Friday plays out because you have, I mean, both teams are kind of in a little bit of a slump, and it was a close game last time, so it's going to be interesting to see if Washington comes out with that fire, and um, it's a huge game for both teams in the conference standings too, because Washington really needs to win to stay up. At this point, I would say Washington can't lose that against Fairfield with how Keokuk's playing. But they also, at this point, they also need some help, and someone's got to beat Keokuk. And Fairfield's. What's that?
I was gonna say, and so because of the way things turned out, Keokuk, Fort Madison, and Burlington are all tied in first, but Fairfield and Washington are still just one game back. So they, but the loser of this one is basically back against the wall with how many things have to happen.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a huge game as it pertains to the Southeast Conference. So should be a good one. Should be a good one on both sides, I think.
I agree. And now is at Fairfield. You were at Washington the first time you saw those teams play. So we'll see if Fairfield High School can bring a little energy for the Trojans. Between Washington and Fairfield boys basketball, I've seen some classics in the last few years. So should be a good one. And then Mount Pleasant. You just saw Mount Pleasant two nights in a row at MPCHS. Why don't you tell me how they've done the last couple nights, and then I'll flash back to the Burlington games.
Yeah, well, we'll jump into the girls first since they played on Monday night. But taking on a Danville team that did they make state last year, or did they come one game short? I think they made state last year. Maybe it was one game short. Either way, Danville girls, solid.
Fact check.
Yeah, please. Solid Danville team. Obviously, they lost some girls, but still have some girls back from that run that they made last year. So definitely got some postseason experience there. Mount Pleasant, pretty much fully healthy at this point, with Abby Carthy coming back, and early on it was looking like Danville was going to run away with it against the Panthers, but by the final score, you can tell they came back really dominant second half really from Mount Pleasant, just kind of ran out of time. Ended up losing 35-31. As I mentioned, Danville looked like they were going to run away with it. The Bears jumped out to a 5-0 lead early through about 6.5 minutes. So Mount Pleasant playing some pretty good defense, only giving up that 5 points, and ended up clawing back into it through that span. Ended up being just a 1-point game with about a minute 30 left in the first quarter. But after that, it was pretty much all Bears for the rest of the first half. Danville scored 7 unanswered to end the first quarter, ended up being 12-4. So kind of just flipped that. The game just kind of all of a sudden what was, a tight game just kind of got out of hand a little bit in the first quarter. Still not completely out of reach there. But really the scoring struggles were the different in the rest of the first half. Scored 4 points once again in the second half or in the second quarter, and that kind of left the door open for the Bears to build on their lead, and that's what they did. End up scoring their largest point total in the second quarter, 13. So at the half, the Panthers were down 25-8, and it's a pretty large. I'm not too large. We've seen bigger deficits be erased, but Mount Pleasant was definitely going to have to come out and start putting the ball in the basket and kind of get back into that defensive. Get back into that defensive mindset they were through that first 6.5 minutes, and that's exactly what they did. The Panthers slowly clawed their way back into it. The second half. Right off in the third period, back-to-back buckets from Maya Starr and Alexa Fuller kicked off what was a 10-5 run through 5 minutes in that third period. Through that span, the Panthers gave up just one field goal and allowed just 2 in all in the third quarter. So definitely picked up their defense in that regard. And really, with just 6 seconds left late in that, just 6 seconds left in the third, Abby Carthy drove and hit a baseline jumper to make it just a 12-point game heading to the fourth, 32-20. So Mount Pleasant definitely within reach and how they've been playing. All they needed to do was kind of continue that in the fourth. Really did continue that into the final quarter there. Charisse Huerta has been coming off the bench and giving the Panthers a little spark. She kind of did that in the game, or again in this one. Scored the first 2 buckets of the fourth to cut the Bear lead down to 8, 32-24. Danville's first points didn't even come until about 5 minutes in to the into the fourth. That was a foul, from the stripe and foul line. So Panthers played some tight knit defense. They didn't give the Bears a single field goal in the fourth quarter. But while the Bears didn't score, Mount Pleasant went kind of getting a little bit of a funk. They went about 3.5 minutes without points themselves. So I'm kind of take out that and add some points in. Very well, the Mount Pleasant could have came back and got over the hump, but they did come as close as 3. Another 5-0 run, kicked off by a foul shot from Fuller with about 2:30 left. Ended with an Addison Clark bucket to make it a 4-point game at 33-29 with 1:35 remaining. And then with 31 seconds left, Fuller got to the stripe once again, hit one, made it 34-31. But Danville did just enough from the line in their kind of final 2 possessions there, hit a free throw each on each of those fouls by the Panthers to just edge them there with that 4-point win. So tough loss for the Panthers, but you got to give kudos for showing some fight after being down a decent margin after one half of play. So Mount Pleasant been playing some pretty good ball, especially since Abby Carthy's back. Obviously, she was their leading scorer last year. Main ball handler, kind of makes it easier on the girls that don't have as much experience handling the ball, especially when teams are really pressing the Panthers, without her. So she makes it a little easier to break the press in that regard and kind of get in their offensive flow. So a tough loss, but Panthers showing some fight, looking pretty good, looking to get some wins here in the second half of the season.
Yeah, well, and by the way, Danville 9-6, so that's no slash they're playing. Last year, they lost. Mount Pleasant lost to Danville by 42 points, so a nice 38-point swing this time around. Danville came 1 game away from state, lost a very close game in the regional finals last year, by the way.
That's what
Yeah, and then quickly on the Mount Pleasant side, they had played against Burlington, red hot Burlington team on Friday night, and couldn't quite knock off the Greyhounds in that one. So this was their second loss in a row after they were coming into Friday night on a 2-game winning streak with Newland and Fairfield wins. So they got Fort Madison this week, and we'll see. That'll be a big thing to kind of see, like, all right, how much have they improved now that they're healthy? I saw them in Fort Madison. In Fort Madison, they didn't have their best game about a month ago. So I'm excited to see if they can turn it around a little bit, give them a better game there. And then you saw the boys just last night, Oskaloosa coming in town. I think this is the 3rd team of ours that Oskaloosa has played so far this year. So we're getting a lot of Oski action this year.
Yeah, looking at last night, Panther boys obviously struggling a little bit this season. Pretty much all new faces. The starting 5 outside of Noah Lang is pretty much the only returning starter, and sometimes he didn't even start last year. So because I know he was dealing with injury, I think, for a little bit. But pretty competitive game through the first half. I mean, Mount Pleasant jumped out to a 3-0 lead. It was pretty much a battle after that. And you really never got more than 5 points through the first half. It wasn't until late in that second quarter Oski kind of pulled away late in the second quarter a little bit. Ended up being 27-20. They hit 4 free throws basically in the final minute 30 of the first half. So 7 points though, very manageable for the Panthers to get back into it. But in the second half, it was early on. Oski made it a 9-point game pretty much right out of the gate. 5-0 run by the Panthers. Made it a 3-point game just about 2 minutes into the second half. But then after that, Oski pretty much pulled away. The Panthers hit one more field goal for the rest of the third quarter after that 5-0 run. And heading into the fourth, the Panthers were down 12, 42-30. And in the fourth quarter, Oski pretty much just sustained their lead. Ended up only outscoring the Panthers 14-10 in that final frame. But just Mount Pleasant just couldn't do enough offensively. I guess, and defensively, to just to help themselves get back into it. So, tough loss for the Panthers. As I mentioned, 50, or maybe I didn't mention. I don't think I did mention 56-40 was the final in that one last night. So, Mount Pleasant still searching for its second win of the season, and they've played some good games this season. Just trying to find their groove. You know what I mean? I know you've seen them play a couple good games too, especially that Fairfield one.
Mm-hmm.
That I think you're going to talk about. Well, that wasn't last Friday, was it? What was that Friday?
That was two Fridays ago. This Friday, yeah, but similar. So the theme this year with Mount Pleasant is they have been, a couple minutes away from beating SEC teams, non-conference teams. They've only got one win all year, and they've had like 5 or 6 chances where you thought, okay, Mount Pleasant's got this one, sign of a young team. But so the theme had been that they had been coming back, the theme had been that they had the lead and they were clinging on at the end. They did that against Washington. They did that against Fairfield, where they just couldn't close it out in the end. This time on Friday night is a little different. They went into Burlington. They were actually down by 7 points after 3 quarters, came back to force overtime, ended up losing 64-55. Panthers forced overtime in the final minute. Noah Lang hit a game-tying layup. Mount Pleasant got the ball back with a chance to win. Couldn't put anything in the basket. And then Burlington kind of controlled overtime. Noah Lang did foul out. He was their leading scorer with 13. Aiden Hubble with 11 and Brody Clark with 9. So this is a road game where they came back to force overtime against Burlington, one of the conference leaders. And again, just this close. And I think it is going to happen for Mount Pleasant, if not for the rest of the conference games. They have a couple of key non-conference games here coming up before the tournament. I think they're going to get a couple wins eventually because the odds just say if you're playing so many close games, you're eventually going to pull some out. They have Fort Madison coming in, which they couldn't score against Fort Madison at Fort Madison when I covered them last month. But Fort Madison had a lot of trouble on offense as well, and Mount Pleasant was just kind of in that game the whole time and ended up falling. I think they ended up losing by 11, but they had it within 4 or 5 points in the final minute. So at Mount Pleasant this Friday, we'll see if the Panthers can pull that one out. And you almost feel bad because we've seen them so many times where it's like, all right, here we go, and then just hasn't quite worked out for them.
Yeah, but, it's tough. I was gonna say it's tough though, especially they're the one team out of the whole Southeast Conference that has a basically completely different face, I guess, outside of coaching, outside of coaching staff. But the Panthers pretty much looking ahead next year, especially not to just jump ahead and play any season left, but a lot of these kids are going to be back, so I'm looking for
all of them.
Yeah, all of them. Actually, all of them
no
will
seniors.
be back. So we're talking about them having the new faces, but next year they're going to be pretty much. They're probably returning the most looking at next year. So,
they might be the most dangerous team next year, considering how close they are to their team. So we'll see on Friday if they can beat Fort Madison.
Yep.
So once again, we have Washington at Fairfield, Mount Pleasant hosting Fort Madison, and that means Keokuk and Burlington will show down, and we will see how the standings look. Right now, the 3 non-union teams, Burlington, Fort Madison, and Keokuk, first place in the girls and the boys now, but in the boys, Washington and Fairfield both 1 game behind, so still plenty of ball left.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of ball left, and there's plenty of ball left in this episode. When we come back, we're going to talk about the small school results from last night, some Super Conference, some River Valley, some South Central, some Southeast Iowa Cedar League East. We'll be back.
Introducing Hy-Vee Market Grill, where every meal is a delight. Start your day with our mouthwatering breakfast options and savor flavorful lunches with friends and family. Cap off your day with our delectable dinners. Hy-Vee Market Grill, where every moment is delicious.
The Connie and Amanda team is dedicated to giving back to our community by actively engaging with our clients, businesses, and the public. When it comes to helping you find your next home, investment, or commercial space, the Connie and Amanda team is here for you.
Washington County Hospital and Clinics, providing quality health care that puts you first. Whether during a hospital stay, seeing a primary care provider for wellness exams or sick visits, minor surgery to a total joint replacement, or recovering from an injury, we're here when you need us.
More than you expect for your health care. Washington County Hospital and Clinics.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Southeast Iowa Union Prep Sports Plus, the B Block, powered by Fairway Food Stores and small school basketball. Last night, we did not have any boots on the ground in the small school games because we were in Washington and Mount Pleasant. But Hunter, tell me how the small school boys basketball teams did last night for us, Tuesday night for all of you who are actually watching us on Thursday when the show's released.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I guess we weren't live yet, but boys' final scores are a little incomplete, specifically in the Southeast Iowa Super Conference North. So the only score we've got coming out of that right now is Hillcrest Academy dominates Wapello 68-33. So, the Ravens sitting in a prime position. Sorry.
Yes.
The camera. Ravens sitting in a prime position to take the North. Waco's in a bit of a funk right now. They were leading. That was Hillcrest Academy's only loss, but Waco, I don't know what they did against Lone Tree yet, but Waco suffered a loss to Pekin, and then they lost to somebody else the other day.
I think Pekin was the first one, but they had almost lost right before that, and they've got some injuries. So, but I think it might come down to Hillcrest Waco at the end.
Yeah,
Winfield's still in that race.
My cousin's their assistant coach, and he was telling me injuries are killing us right now. Specifically, I can't remember who else is out, but I know Clayton Miller's out, and he's one of their
That's a big
rebounders. Yeah.
There were kids when I watched them Pekin last week. They had a couple kids go down with like little ankle injuries, so they're probably back. But at least in that game against Pekin, they were hurting, especially for big guys.
Yeah. So the other scores in that one, that's the only North score. But the other games, I guess, we're waiting on is Pekin taking on the Wise Muscatine.
We're having a hold on, pause. Sorry, we had a quick injury timeout on the floor. Time in, game back on, Hunter.
Yeah. So outside of the Hillcrest final there, once again, 68-33 over Wapello. We're still waiting for the scores. Pekin taking on the Wise Muscatine. Highland and Winfield squaring off at Highland, and then Waco taking on Lone Tree. But jumping into the other game, small school finals in the Super Conference South, New London falls to Central East 60-46. And then Van Buren County suffers an 85-54 loss to Holy Trinity there. And then jumping into the River Valley South, we got Mid Prairie picking up a big win over West Branch 72-56. In the South Central Conference, Cardinal falls to Centerville 88-36. And then finally, over in the South Iowa Cedar East League, Keokuk suffers a tough loss to their rival, Sigourney, 62-55. So outside of those ones that were missing, those are all the small school boys scores from yesterday.
And now I'm going to go for the small school girls. I'll go opposite. I'll go with the goofball conference. This is only one of our teams apiece here. First, in the South Central Conference, Cardinal, tough game at Centerville. Centerville is one of the better teams in the SCC. 68-25 loss for the Comets. Tough one there for Cardinal Faithful. In the South Iowa Cedar League East, Sigourney over rival Keokuk, 68-44. It looks like Keokuk was actually, this is a lot closer than that score indicates. Sigourney beat them by 11 in the fourth quarter. So Keokuk was in there with them. They had a rough second quarter where they got outscored by double digits, but a half of that game, Kyoto was playing right with them. So Eagles definitely getting better on the girls' side. And then an absolute blowout at Mid Prairie High School, 65-20 Mid Prairie over West Branch. Mid Prairie. Let's see if we got a score for this blowout win here. We have leading scorers. Callie Huber. Oh, good thing I said this. Look at this, Hunter. Are you ready for this?
Yep.
Again, 65 points scored. Is this even right?
What?
44. No, this can't be right. This can't be right. According to Varsity Bound, they have Callie Huber for 30 points, Morgan Bender for 22 points, and Georgia Evans for 22 points. But that is a total of 74 points. And Mid Prairie as a team scored a total of 65 points. So let me just do a little investigation here, Hunter. I saw the scores. I was like, oh my gosh, that's like an NBA game. Something's amiss. Something is amiss. 30, 20, that's 50, 66, 78. Yeah, something's amiss. Unofficially, very unofficially, Huber with 30. Evans and Bender both with 22. Brooklyn Schneider with 20. Caitlin Harland with 16. Which is something is not right. It says they took 128 shots in this one, Hunter.
Oh my.
You don't get, I don't know, I don't even understand what's going on with that box score. But shout out Varsity Bound. They got a few problems with your West Branch versus Mid Prairie game. And then in the Super Conference, look, go South first and Buren County. Underdogs coming into the game, but they put up a dog fight. Lost 51-40 against Holy Trinity at home. And then New London had a tough game at Central Lee, 63-23. Lady Hawks. My dog gets up for some Southeast Iowa Super Conference girls basketball. So they'll probably get louder when I talk about the North. Pekin falls to Louisa Muscatine at Louisa Muscatine, 49-37. Highland and Winfield Mount Union in an absolute battle. Highland had to come back to win this one, 44-42. And Hillcrest over Wapello, 52-40. A couple Super North wins on the week or a 5-day stretch for Hillcrest Academy. And then a really tough one in the standings for the Waco Warriors, who fall 55-52 to Lone Tree. That's a big one in the North Division standings. Columbus did not play, but we know that Columbus and Waco are right there battling at the top. Waco had won like 9 games in a row, but they fall to Lone Tree. So there we go, Hunter.
It's it was, a pretty tight race at the top, and Columbus has kind of solidified themselves at the top right now. There's still games to be played for sure, but Columbus is in the driver's seat right now. It's basically Columbus's race to lose, if you will, if you look at it that way. But
it is, especially now because Columbus just survived a couple games. One against Lone Tree, one against Highland. Yep. They still have to play Waco again, but we'll see. We'll see when Waco and Columbus get back. And there are a lot of teams that can beat each other in that North Division. But Wildcats, I think they can about taste it now. 4 or 5 games left. We'll see. The Warriors pretty much have to play perfect basketball from now on out.
Great basketball.
Good bet. Yeah, big basketball week. I was going to ask my dog if he would apologize for the barking, but
he says no.
He's doing some other weird stuff right now. I don't want on camera. We are going to take a little break. We get back, we'll get you ready for the Thursday night wrestling slate. I was at a pretty interesting wrestling meet last week, a varsity battle. And then we'll get you on your way. Prep Sports Plus will be back.
Attention Hy-Vee shoppers, introducing Hy-Vee Perks, your ticket to exclusive savings and rewards. Access exclusive perks, prices, earn gas discounts, and unlock special deals. All this for free. Join Hy-Vee Perks today and start saving.
At Seafirst Credit Union, we're all about making connections, like how we connect you to that dream vacation with a savings account designed to help get you on the flight there. Connect with Seafirst today and see why together is better.
Bring the kids, share the memories, celebrate 75 years of traditions at the Midwest Old Threshers Reunion. Relive the magic of steam engines, antique cars, and trucks, tractors, gas engines, and horses. Whether it's your first visit or a cherished tradition, you'll enjoy the delicious foods, the thrill of an Old West shootout, and the excitement of nightly grandstand entertainment. For 75 years, this has been the place where memories are made at the 2025 Midwest Old Threshers Reunion, August 28th through September 1st in Mount Pleasant, Iowa. Visit oldthreshers.com for more details.
In the heart of rural Iowa, where community matters most, the connections we make are made to last. Meet KCTC, your hometown internet, phone, and TV provider. At KCTC, we're not just about technology, we're about people. Our dedicated team are your neighbors, committed to bringing you top-tier services right where you live. We believe in giving back to the community that raised us. Experience the power of a real connection with KCTC. Join us in building a stronger, more connected Southeast Iowa.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Prep Sports Plus. We're going to talk a little wrestling, and I was at a little wrestling, Hunter, on Thursday night, Washington High School, the battle between the Demons and Panthers, and a double win on the mats for the Mount Pleasant Panther wrestling teams. Panther boys beat the Demons 51-27, and then the girls win 27-12. Panther boys got some big wins, especially in the lighter matches. Once it hit 106, Panthers got a win out of Levi Evans at 106, Landon Beckler at 113. Cruz Aguilar had a really fun match with Nate Edmonds at 120. Aguilar wins that one. Elaine Beckler at 126. That's 4 in a row before Aaron Boone of Washington is able to stop that winning streak. But by that time, Mount Pleasant had pretty much clinched it. Colby Oatsby also got a win there right at the end. And then on the girls' side, it's 27-12 Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant would have won unless Washington swept because of forfeits, because Mount Pleasant had more wrestlers available. There were 3 matches that actually took place. That went 2-1 to Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant had wins from Paris Hosey, and they got a win from Zenlin Lee. Zenlin Lee beat Peggy Miller. Those two are like the biggest of rivals. This is like the 5th time they've been wrestling. Yeah. And it was 1-0. And I'll tell you what, because they've wrestled a lot at tournaments, like all the way to like semifinal matches, maybe a final or 2 against each other. And when they announced those 2 girls, everyone got up for that match because they knew it was going to be the best match of the night. And then Nora Stoutner gets a win for Washington on the girls' side. So 2-1. So Mount Pleasant wins against Washington. Mount Pleasant hosts Fairfield on Thursday night. Washington will also have a SEC duel. They're going against the Burlington Greyhounds in Burlington. But Mount Pleasant hosts Fairfield. Huge one on the boys' side. It would have been even bigger if Fairfield would have beat Fort Madison. But you're going to play about Fairfield and the rest of the wrestling crew here coming up.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, it's been quite the battle. on the boys side, a couple matches here and there have separated them. And we kind of saw that last week with Fairfield taking on Fort Madison and Tumwa. Jumping into the boys wrestling roundup. You want me to jump into the wrestling roundup now?
Jump in.
All right. Well, as you're talking about kind of that race, Fairfield suffered a tough loss last week to Fort Madison. I saw Fort Madison. How tight this thing is. It's been, as I mentioned, a couple matches. I saw Mount Pleasant come back on Fort Madison when Fort Madison was kind of pulling away in their duel. Fairfield had Fort Madison and Ottumwa in town last week. Both were narrow finishes, but the Trojans split on the night, ended up defeating Ottumwa 41-36, but lose to Fort Madison 42-41. That's how close it went down to the wire there. In both those matches, I guess the outcome of both those matches, a slew of Trojans got 2 wins out of both of those head-to-heads. Dane Burkhart at 175, Dre Smithberg 215, Cale McCabe 113, Kaysen Miller 157, Zandrick Allison at 144, and Calvin McLean at 165 were all 2-time winners out of that triangular there. So, hey, it's going to come down to the wire here. It's really actually coming down to the wire. In the wrestling race, we're kind of seeing. It's kind of. I feel like the last couple of years, we've had one team kind of be more dominant than the other. There's good wrestlers everywhere, but out of team races, I think we've seen like kind of Washington the past couple years as a team be kind of dominant, and now everybody else is everybody else is kind of coming up and. It's pretty equal right now. I mean, everybody has their studs, but it's tight knit. I mean, as you can see from the finishes as of late. So I'm excited to see how this wrestling race plays out in the Southeast Conference. But going through the rest of the boys roundup, Columbus WMU won the Mike Halupnik Big Red Invite on over the weekend. Columbus, WMU, Fairfield, Van Buren County, and Cardinal were all present. Wildcats, as I mentioned, won the title with 341 points. Fairfield was 12th with 159.5. Van Buren County 13th with 131, and Cardinal ended up in 15th with 118. 118. I'm just going to run through. You have to read the story. We'll run through the team scores, if that's all right with you, Andy. But
I'm all right with that.
All right, and then the biggest tournament I would say out of the Union area with the majority of our teams there would be the Waco tournament that took place on Saturday. Washington led all squads at the Waco tournament on Saturday. Demons 182.5 points for the win. Mount Pleasant was second with 160. Highland and New London placed third and fourth with 117 and 107.5 points respectively there. And Waco finished sixth with 101 points. Mid Prairie 13th with 40 points. Pekin 15th with 25 points. So big tournament there. And finally, Sigourney Kyoto finishes sixth at the Hudson Invitational, with the Cobras tallied 100.5 points in that one. Jumping over to the girls' wrestling roundup, Mid Prairie places second at their home tournament. Pretty big tournament for the Golden Hawks. Just narrowly by that much missed the team title. Golden Hawks was finished with 162 points. Champion Western Dubuque 163.5. You can see how close that ended up being there for them. Cardinal was also competing in the tournament, 79.5 points for sixth. Waco was there as well, ninth with 40 points. And there's that. Jumping down here, Pekin and Columbus / WMU completed at Pella. Some good teams taking part in that one. The Panthers ended the day ninth with 87 points. Columbus 16th with 8 points. And then Sigourney Kyoto 12th at the Northwest Invite. Posted 100. Or wait, I didn't even put what they scored as a team, but 12th place at the Northwest Invite on Saturday. And then finally, Highland 16th at the Old Wayne Girls Invitational. Finished 16th out of 19 total schools there. So
Yeah, that's it from the boys and girls wrestling round, or weekend wrestling roundup, if you will. Yeah, we've got some. I say this about every time we get to wrestling season, but it's going to be a lot of wrestlers up in the mats up in Iowa City or Coralville and in Des Moines as well. So, yeah, be a lot of going to be a lot of competitors at state this year.
I was letting you talk because you had your phone in the same position as that one time, and your lisp was coming back. And that's why I was smiling because
now it's gone, isn't it?
Every single time. What?
Now it's gone, isn't it?
Now it's gone.
It's because
now it's gone.
For some
it was
reason,
very very funny when it happened.
For some reason, on my phone, I think the mic's like on the bottom or something, and I have it standing up, and it's like I have it standing up, and so it's just being blocked. So that's why probably.
Yes, it was very entertaining for me. Not sure if you saw me also get those Fruit Loops for my kid during your.
I did. That was impressive.
Multi-talented operation we got going on here. But yeah, we got that. We got some bowling tomorrow. Washington and Mount Pleasant just split last week. I saw a little bowling. Washington boys won first place in the conference. Washington boys. Fairfield boys are first place in the conference. Washington boys beat Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant girls beat Washington. Fairfield will be coming into Iris. Now I'm starting to do it. Iris Bowling Center. If you're watching this when it comes out, it's happening right now. So get to the bowling alley for a little bowling action. Southeast Conference. That's all we got sports wise. Hunter, you got any predictions for the NFL this weekend? Not sports, but.
I mean, there's only one prediction I can for sure say: Chiefs to the Super Bowl.
Chiefs to the Super Bowl.
I really wish that the Chiefs were underdogs against the Bills because I love when we're underdogs because I think it sets a little fire. But 1.5 points, it is
1.5 points.
Yeah, 1.5 for the Chiefs. But every time the Bills have beat us in the regular season, we've went on to beat them in the postseason. So I'm hoping that plays true this time around.
What's the spread in Eagles and Commanders? Wait, maybe I have.
I want to say it's like 7, right? Or it might be like 8. I can't remember.
7?
Yeah, it's pretty.
Gosh.
It's pretty heavy favorite Eagles.
I want the Eagles to win because of Cooper Jean, but I like here's I'll give you a little advice. This weekend in the NFL, I like the Dogs. Kind of like the Dogs this weekend. I think it's gonna be a crazy weekend of football. I'm excited for it.
Both of the games should be really good, though. I think they should be good because Commanders Eagles. What's up, dog? Commanders Eagles was a great game both times they played this year. Were both great games.
I agree. I like the Commanders to at least cover in that one. All right,
the question
that's all we got.
Who should feel worse, the Giants or the Cowboys about their fellow division rivals being in the conference title game? Who should feel worse? Got to be the boys, right? Got to be the boys.
Got to be the boys. I'm not sure if you follow George Johnson, Cowboy super fan, but he's banning himself from the states of Philadelphia and Washington, with Washington, the West Coast Washington, circled on his map because the NFL cheated to get those two in there. I can't recommend George Johnson, Cowboy super fan enough, and I can't recommend you guys watching the show enough. And when will they be able to watch it again, Hunter?
Next week. You'll be watching it on Thursday specifically.
Thursday.
Even though we're coming at you from a Wednesday. Peace.